Hey, mathematicians, I'm back with looking at clearing fractions when you solve equations. These two problems are the same two that are on that page. I just kind of cleaned up the page a little bit so I had a little more room to work, but they're all on the same page with the carousel. So this is clearing fractions. So here's the thing. There's a couple different ways that you can approach this, and it doesn't matter to me at all. Okay, so I'm going to go through a couple different strategies with you, and then you get to pick what you want to do. We talked earlier lessons about how to work with fractions and dividing them, and that's one strategy you can use. And I'd say use that if that works. But this is a way that I can show you a couple different things or a couple different strategies, and then you can pick. I want you to be successful with whatever you pick. So that's why I'm giving you some variety, because we don't all think the same, so we don't all process the same. And so it's important that we are given maybe a couple different ways to do this. So here we go. One of the ways that you can solve this problem, 2x divided by 5 plus 12 is equal to 14. We talked earlier about dividing by the fraction at some point, but some people just don't like fractions. I don't get it, but some people just don't. So what we can do is we can clear the fraction in step number 1 to make things seem a little bit easier for some. Again, this is a strategy. You pick what works for you and you use it. We want you to be successful. Doesn't have to be my way, okay? So for those of you who are like, fraction, I don't want a fraction. Here's what you can do. Look for your denominator, okay? That's the bottom number of your fraction. In this case, it's 5. I can take and multiply every single term in that equation by 5, and the fraction's gone, okay? So what I can do is multiply this term by 5, multiply this term by 5, and multiply this term by 5. These cancel out, 5 and 5 cancel out, so I'm left with 2x plus 60, because 12 times 5 is 60, equals 70, because 14 times 5 is 70. Now I have an equation with no fraction, which makes some people a little excited, which is totally cool, because that's what you should do. All right, so I'm going to subtract 60 from both sides. I'm going to have that 2x, 60 minus 60 is 0, equals 10. Divide by 2, x equals 5. And then I can check to see if I'm right by substituting in. Is 2 times 5 divided by 5 plus 12 equal to 14? Okay? That's one way you can go about solving it. Now, another way that you can choose to go about solving it, and that's why I brought in another copy of this one. Look at that magic. Is I can multiply by the reciprocal. So I can choose, move this over just a little bit. I can choose to multiply by the reciprocal of the fraction. So the reciprocal is when you take a fraction and you flip it over. So 2/5 is my fraction, so I can multiply everything by 5/2. That's another strategy. All right, so the 5s cancel out, so do the 2s. So I'm left with x plus 12 times 5 is 60, divided by 2 is 30. Okay, so when you're multiplying fractions, you would want to have, you have 12 over 1 and 5 over 2. And then 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 12. 6 times 5 is 30. And that's equal to, do the same thing here. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 into 14, 7 equals 35. And I can subtract 30 from both sides, and I would get 5. That's another strategy. And the third strategy is what we talked about earlier in the videos, where you would end up at the end dividing by the fraction. Use the strategy that works for you, okay? So let's try this fraction. So with this one, I have a couple options. I can multiply every term by the denominator. And in this case, the denominator is 4. So those cancel out. I'm left with negative 1x. On this side, I'm left with, on the left side, I'm left with negative 12. I'm going to undo the multiplication by dividing by 1. So 12 equals x. Okay. The other way we can go about it, look at that magic, is you can multiply both sides by the reciprocal. Now, in this case, the reciprocal happens to be the same as up here, but I'm going to walk you through it the same way. So we multiply by negative 4 over 1, multiply by negative 4 over 1. Negative times negative is positive. The 4's cancel out. So we're with x. Negative times negative is positive 12. In either case, we get the same answer. All right. Or the final ways that we talked about earlier is you can divide both sides by negative x, negative 1/4. Okay. So use the strategy that works for you. If you've got questions, log into a Google Meet, ask. We want you to be successful with this. All right. Enjoy your day.